Hey guys, Wednesday, video 1. So today is the day your rhetorical analysis paper is due. It's due on eCampus at 11:59 p.m. So how to submit it, you are under coursework here, go to papers, just like you did for the narrative paper, except for this unit, of course, it will be in the rhetorical analysis folder. Maybe. Okay, and under this you will go to the rhetorical analysis submission portal. It's not open right now, but it will be open by the time you watch this video. And again, the assignment sheet is here. This is the rubric. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the rubric just to remind you of things that I'm looking for to fulfill the assignment for this unit. So on our syllabus here, we're going to talk about extremist and absolutist language and more information about quoting. And I've been seeing some topic sentences that are a little rough, so I'm going to guide you in that department as well. So again, your rhetorical analysis paper due 11:59 p.m. on eCampus. I will not be able to provide all the feedback for these papers before the midterm is due. So again, as I mentioned in other videos, just when you put the midterm portfolio together, just basically copy and paste what you will submit on Wednesday. And on Friday, you are submitting that there as well. It's just to give you more practice for the final portfolio. Okay, for the rubric, I've already went over this briefly, but just so you guys remember, and in the narrative papers, if you were missing some of these parts, the title. So the title, I am pretty picky with the titles. I did a whole lesson over it, so if you haven't had time to check out that lesson, go back and watch it, and it needs to forecast the contents of the essays and be basically creative and specific. Those are the two guidelines, creative and specific. Introduction and thesis statement. So I've looked at several of your introductions already. That was writing response 4, essentially. And I have either okayed it or I've said, suggested some ways for you to improve that introduction. And thesis statement, there is a specific template for a thesis statement for rhetorical analysis papers. So if you have not watched that video, go back and watch them, because if you email me with a question about it, I'll just tell you to go back and watch the video, since I take time to make these videos for you guys. Okay, so the research. You are doing research for this paper, as mentioned before. I said 2 to 3 sources minimum. That's still the case. And these Friday, Monday, Tuesday, now Wednesday, we're going to be talking about how to do research, what sites to go to, and how to include sources in your papers. So you should already know those first parts, but we're still finessing the last couple of parts. The analysis. This is the why of the paper. So remember I said the description is the what, and the analysis is the why. Why does something work the way it does? That's going to be this whole column here. The conclusion, again, a prediction, solution, consequence, etc. Arrangement, this is your topic sentences, concluding sentences, essay organization, all that's here. Voice, this is the tone of the essay. You can read the information there. This is grammar stuff, works cited, MLA guidelines, 8th edition, and the length is a little bit shorter than the last paper. I believe I've said 1,200 to 1,500 before, and I've shortened it since then. So you can go to 1,500, that's fine. So we'll just say 1,000 to 1,500. Okay, I will provide feedback for you guys in the same way that I did for the narrative, obviously using this rubric instead, just to be clear. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about extremist language, and then we'll get into some quoting specifics, and then the next video for today, we're going to talk about topic sentences specifically and how to incorporate quotes in a paragraph. So what proportion should be your own writing and what proportion should be another resource. All right, so what we're going to do here is I have some paragraphs taken from previous students' papers, and they're good examples of extremist language or moderate language. What that means is extremist language is absolutes. So words like all, none, every, the all-encompassing words. Moderate language are words like some, most, almost, the words that leave room for exceptions. So in your writing, you should use moderate language. If I see extremist language, I'm going to highlight it. And again, I'm going to be a jerk just because it affects your ethos as for you as an author. If you say all Americans or all audience members of these movie posters or all producers or all of whoever or none of whoever, then immediately I'm going to highlight that and I'm going to say, how are you quantifying this research? Have you interviewed everyone? And then it'll be easy for me to think of an exception. So a good way around that, it's an easy fix and it really improves your ethos as a writer, is just to use the moderate language. Some, most, almost, many, few. Okay? So just stick to that language and it makes you a more believable, credible author. Okay. So we're going to look at a few sentences and you guys think to yourselves, is this moderate? Is it extreme? And if it is extreme, how can we change it to moderate? It should be simple for you. Some of you are struggling with in your writing and I may come off as sarcastic in my comments, but this is why, because it's affecting your ethos and I want it to send a strong message to you just to change the language up a little bit. Okay. The author most likely used Emmett and Jordan in this cartoon because Emmett's death sparked the civil rights movement. At the time that the author made this, released on February 20th, 2014, Jordan's murderer was just sentenced to life. Back in 1955, the two White brothers would never have been prosecuted. This is probably the only changing fact today. Using an older important death and a more recent one makes it more relevant to today's society. You as the reader start to realize the fact that racism is an everlasting issue. Okay, so if we were in a class, I would, have you guys workshop it and go through and highlight some of the extremist / moderate words. So right off the bat, I have noticed a couple of these. And some of these are good, some of these are bad. So this first one here, most. I already listed it in the list of moderate language. The author most likely used da 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 da. So creator most likely did something for this effect. That's totally fine language. You can change it to like something stronger, more confident statement. The author used, like this would be okay. But this is because it's clear that this is your assumption as an author speaking about the rhetorical analysis of another author. Okay, so let's drop down here though. Back in 1955, two white brothers would never have been prosecuted. Okay, so this I take big issue with for obvious reasons. None of you were around in 1955, at least not well enough or old enough that you could have understood the legal system or could have even judged that they would or would not have been prosecuted. Okay, so this is a case where you would just substitute that for back in 1955, the two white brothers most likely would not have been prosecuted. Okay, so I hope that's clear. All right, this is a pretty common sentence I see. All around the world, there are poor people and rich people. Each one of them lived the life that God had chose it for them. Okay, so there are a lot of issues with this sentence. However, for the purposes of this activity, let's take a look at words like this. All around the world, there are poor people and rich people. Each one of them lived the life that God had chose it for them. Okay, so these would both be extremist cases where you're trying to account for the audience and each member or type of person that could be an audience member. So this all around the world, automatically I'm going to turn off as a reader. As a teacher, I am going to highlight that and say, have you been all around the world? How can you account for all around the world? You are not omnipresent. Okay, so again, it's just a small fix, but it really, really impacts your ethos. So I think this is pretty clear. We're going to go ahead and move on to a little bit more of quoting because I know it's a big pain in the butt, but we're going to spend some more time on it. Okay, so I'm going to take one of these sentences and just quote it. Actually, this one's already a quote, so I'm going to take this, drop it down here, and this student provided the author for us. All right. So, if you are including this in your paper, you would put something like according to J.B. Sanford, and then I would have a little bit of information here about who this is, why that person is important to your paper / your research. So again, the title, we already looked at the template document. This is the introduction part. The according to or Sanford argues, Sanford says, quotes, those attributive tags that I already mentioned. Have this here, and then your quote, and then ideally we would have some sort of citation here. So I think this was just a quote from the web, so I would just put a period there. Let's say it's from a book and it's on page 24. Okay, so again, this part I just made up for the sake of teaching. So we're going to Control L that. And now what we would do, let's say I want to change this word. So by it, let's say I want to specify, even though it's pretty clear in the sentence, what this it is here. So the it stands for obviously suffrage, but if you want to be super clear in your paper, if you're adding information, you put it in brackets, okay? Not parentheses, brackets. This signals to the reader, hey, me as an author, I have added this information to this quote, okay? Let's say that we want to omit information, take it out. So suffrage is not a right, it is a privilege. So let's see, suffrage is not a right, suffrage is a privilege. It's such a short quote, I'm trying to think the best way to take out information. It's a privilege. Okay, so let's say we just want to condense our word count. What we would do here, if we are altering this in two ways, we took out it is, suffrage is not a right, it is a privilege. So we took out it is here, and we also omitted the period. If you keep the period, then you'll have 3 dots plus a period, so you'll have 4 total, okay? But let's omit the period as well, and then we're inserting the word but. So we're just continuing the sentence. Suffrage is not a right, but a privilege. So the meaning needs to stay the same. You can alter things within the quote by omitting information or adding it, but the meaning needs to stay the same overall. Otherwise, you're misguiding the reader and you're not representing your source correctly. Okay, so the last thing we're going to discuss is a block quote. All right, let's undo all this. And then let's go ahead and block quote this whole thing. So block quotes, again, if it's 4 lines or more, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if it's a block quote, let's say you have the end of paragraph 2 exactly where I typed it. Or we'll say the end of sentence 2 in a paragraph. Then a block quote is within the middle of your sentence. So what you do is, this one's, you have like 4 lessons in one. You indent the whole block quote, okay? Every single line is indented, and this is used in place of quotation marks. So the reason why I changed these initial quotation marks is because it's a quote within a quote. So technically, there should be quotation marks here if you were not block quoting. Since we are block quoting, just have this one quotation mark here, okay? And then the last thing you would do, so there are no quotation marks because the indentation substitutes for the quotation marks. The last thing you would do is you would have the citation here, and then it has the period on the inside rather than the outside, okay? So that's it for this video over extremist language and some quoting details. Stick around for quoting proportions and topic sentences.